I hope you guys appreciate what I do for you. This is the Princess Diaries, and if you couldn't guess, I didn't see this when it came out in theaters, but it's Disneycember, so I was kinda hoping maybe this would be that little surprise that caught me off guard, and it's not. Alright, let's look at the story. Anne Hathaway is a really nerdy girl who just wants to disappear and be invisible. But suddenly her grandmother, who never visits, played by Julie Andrews, comes in and reveals that in fact she is a queen. And that through some complicated bloodline, Anne Hathaway is in fact a princess, and that by blood, she's the only one who can take over ruling. Hathaway, of course, doesn't want the position and just wants to disappear, but Julie Andrews thinks that the more she can talk to her and the more that she can convince her, the more she'll come around to taking the post, or else it's gonna be handed over to an evil guy who wants to do bad things with it, probably. I don't know, we never exactly figure out his politics, but he looks bad, so I'm sure it's gonna be bad. What follows is, of course, every cliche you can think of in this setup. The scenes where they have to act all elegant and she screws up, the visual jokes, the scenes where she has to act like she's princessy, but ooh, slapstick is gonna happen. The kid and the grandmother aren't gonna get along, but over time they will learn from one another and they'll find out all sorts of neat things. And just when you think they're gonna get along, all of a sudden something happens to throw a wrench into the works and they think they hate each other, but then of course they come around and oh, you've heard that story before? Don't worry, there's about a million other cliches you've heard before, including the idiot bad boy she wants to date even though there's a perfectly good boy that wants to date her, but of course she doesn't realize it, the nerdy best friend that of course she's gonna betray, the bully that never says anything real bullies do or does anything real bullies do, the goof up she's gonna have that somehow don't really goof up anything and everyone's still happy when she takes the position. I think the only thing missing is the actual political talk. Yeah, if she's gonna rule a kingdom, shouldn't she, know about the kingdom, and shouldn't she know about politics? Shouldn't she be thrust into this? No, it's more important to have her wave properly or wear the correct dresses and, sheesh. The director of this movie is Gary Marshall, who I've seen in interviews and is a great producer, I'm sure is very nice, but I don't think I've seen one movie from him that I've liked. He kinda does for the female audience what, say, Vin Diesel does for the male audience. Yeah, we know it's stupid and it's really bad, but we kinda give it a pass cause, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we were in that situation? Well, I don't like a lot of Vin Diesel films, and I don't like a lot of these films either. The formula is beyond tired and beyond predictable. You can guess every single moment that's going to happen. As I was watching it, I was pleading for it to give me something new, something I haven't seen before, something that makes it unique. And I guess if you want to get kinda specific, there is one thing that sorta makes it unique, and that's the performances. The majority of actors in this movie are trying their hardest to give a role that you haven't seen before, even though the role has been written millions of times. And to their credit, some of them kinda work. Like Julie Andrews does give her own very unique charm to the whole thing. While the role is not written well at all, she does in fact give it this certain dignity. Every single time she talks, you know that not only is she trying to connect with her daughter, but she's trying to be a politician. She's trying to balance everything out, and you hear the desperation in her voice to get this done. So I think she works out really well. I never quite got on the hate Anne Hathaway boat like a lot of other people did. I just never thought she picked very good movies. But as the nerdy girl, she does okay, and as the pretty girl, she does okay. There probably could have been an actress that could bring more to it, but at the same time, she has nothing to work with, and for what she did, I think it's pretty impressive. There's a head of security character we've seen a million times, but again, he does pretty well. There's a hair designer we've seen a million times, but again, this guy's acting is actually very funny. But even with all these people trying their hardest, they just can't make do with a story that is so recycled, and tropes that have been drilled into the ground, and those musical moments where you just want to go, oh, how inspiring, how whimsical, I just want to puke all over the screen on her pretty little dress. I guess if you're looking for a movie that is just the straightforward Cinderella story and you want to pretend yourself as the pretty girl being made up, it's still kind of bad. But if you're just going in for pure fantasy and you're unbelievably forgiving, I guess this film is for you. Anyone else? I say this is a diary you can definitely skip. Well, y'all know what I thought of the first Princess Diaries, and now we have the sequel. And I have to say, it totally took me by surprise. I don't think I've laughed so hard in such a long time.
Oh, not because the writing's any good, not because the acting's any good, on the contrary. All those elements are absolutely horrendously awful, resulting in an absolutely hilarious piece of That's right, it's one of those so bad it's good movies. You wouldn't think that with Disney, this would be the franchise to warrant such a distinction. But man, it's not only bad, it's nostalgia critic bad. I mean, I'm seriously thinking about putting this on the list someday. The story is Anne Hathaway is almost hitting 21, which means she's gonna be queen soon. But a bad guy, played by John Rhys Davies, wants to take the throne from her. How do I know? Because he literally announces it.
You should be more careful, Your Royal Highness. Somebody might try to take that away from you. Someone like me.
And on top of that, everyone, I mean friggin' everyone announces it in the movie too, like it was made for 4-year-olds.
Would you please try to keep up, Brigitte? He's trying to steal the crown.
But wait, it gets better. So all the Parliament decides that in order for Anne Hathaway to become a queen, she has to marry. How does she know this? Because she finds a secret passage that is so obviously labeled, it's so impossible for it to be called a secret passage. But it gets better. So they literally invite the villains to stay with them in their palace. Why? Because they want to keep their enemies close. So close that they could sabotage everything, which is exactly what they do. But wait, it gets better. So the son of the guy who's trying to take over falls in love with the princess. And they do that cliche where they do nothing but bicker and yell at each other, yet you know they're gonna get together. Yet they forgot to put in any element of them actually liking each other. Look at this scene. They're yelling and saying how much they hate one another, and then they just kiss. Where the did that come from?
I loathe you.
I loathe you.
We've seen that cliche before, but there usually has to be something about them that they have in common or they like. And here, there's nothing. They're just forced right into it. But wait, it gets better! Now that she's gonna become queen in literally 30 days, not only does she have to find someone to marry, but do you think now they're finally gonna talk about the politics and the importance of her kingdom and touring it and stuff? No, they have more important things like learning how to wave their fans and having slumber parties. That's right, the fate of their whole nation could crumble in the matter of days, and yet they're going mattress surfing. Oh, the fate of your country doesn't matter when you can be having song sequences with Raven. And it just gets stupider and stupider and stupider. I am thoroughly convinced that this movie, even though it has a PG rating and even though it's marketed to preteens, teens, and even some adults, would only be enjoyed by kindergartners. It is literally written for kindergartners. Sophia the First has more dignity and intelligence than this film. And I enjoyed it from beginning to end. It is that horrendously bad, it's good. So, yeah, in a strange way, I kind of recommend it. If you're looking for one of those movies that mocks every cliche and every horrifying storytelling element without it even realizing it's doing it, then this movie is for you. I can understand someone saying it's just a cliche, boring piece of that there is nothing actually so bad it's good in it, but man, it was full of it for me. This movie brought me so much joy. God bless you, you horrible, horrible film.